Our nation of Assyria was created by the retreating Russian Caucasus army during the fall of the Russian Empire. We are a state dominated by Russians, Assyrians, and Orthodox Christians. Our patriarch, Shimun the 21st Asiya, has led our country to a peaceful and developing state. He has successfully managed to hold Russian interests back, and he is instead looking towards the south. We will begin to prepare to liberate our Assyrian homeland. But we can't jump into a horrible war right now. First, we have to invest into our economy. We will reform our tax system so that the foreign companies that have been robbing our resources have to begin pay for them. The surplus of money we will receive after this reform will be invested into our civilian industry. But then, in the darkest night, our leader who has steered our nation towards development died. And with him the stability of Assyria died too. A power struggle has begun between Assyrian theocrats, Russian soldiers and democrats. The Russian soldiers who hold crucial positions in the military use this to leverage themselves over the two other parties. And now our nation is ruled by the Russian military leader Nikolai Baratov. Baratov and his followers seek to liberate the Caucasus from Armenia and the Caucasus madness. All this to reunite with Mother Russia. But to appease the Assyrians in our country, he has also promised to liberate their homeland and Mosul. Sadly, it will take a lot of resources to do this, and we have almost none. Only half of our soldiers are equipped with guns. This will have to change. We invested our tax money into agriculture, hopefully making our country self-sufficient. After that, we supported our manufacturers of cloth, wool, and cattle. With the money gained from the exports, we have opened our first military factories to produce the necessary guns we need for our army. While we slowly developed our nation, our neighbor of Iran collapsed into a civil war between the monarchy and the Communist Party. Hopefully this won't spread into our small nation. Our economy is on the way up, and with weapon production established, we can begin to upgrade our military. We reorganized it and expanded our conscription. Right now we have zero recruitable population, so we really need it. But to train more men we need more guns too. So we requested Russian help, and they sent over 1,200 of them, together with 10,000 Russians moving into our country. We are now ready to adopt the greater Assyrian plan to appease the Assyrians in our country and strengthen our position to invade the Caucasus. We will begin with invading the kingdom of Yazira, but to succeed in our invasion we trained two new Cossack divisions. The war was declared and we immediately tried to break through their defenses. The battle was fierce, but we had more than double the amount of divisions than they had. Thanks to that, one of our Cossack divisions soon broke through and forced their army to retreat. With this breakthrough, the rest of the war was plain sailing. Two of our divisions marched to their capital in Mosul, and the rest held their army at bay. After Mosul had been captured, we continued towards Tikrit. Once we had captured the city, they saw no way of winning the war and surrendered. We have won the war and liberated half of Greater Assyria. We will keep up the momentum and liberate the rest. For this we have to attack the Kurds. Sadly, our army is not big enough to hold the whole front, so we will have to abandon Mosul and the neighboring lands. We declared the war and the Kurdish army seemed really unprepared. So unprepared that we simply marched into the north of their country uncontested and even managed to capture their capital. But as we arrived to their second largest city, they had unfortunately set up a defense. We began assaulting the city, but every one of our attacks failed. So instead we turned to the north of the city. They still had the defense set up, but in this offensive we didn't have to cross a river. Naturally, it was far more successful, and once we had broken through, we managed to capture 2 more tiles. The well-defended city they have is now surrounded from almost everywhere. We will once again try to capture it. This time our attack succeeded and we captured the city in only 12 days. The Kurds surrendered as we now have captured all their important cities. We can now finally begin to incorporate our liberated territories. It wasn't hard to do it as many Assyrians already lived there. With the state Kurd we have now a ton more manpower and better industry. But we can make it even better through a fair land redistribution. And to boost our control over our liberated states, we supported Assyrian colonies in these locations. Our goal is to move our capital to Mosul, the biggest city in our country right now. But to be able to do this, we have to build up the city a bit more. And what better way than to build a new university for the Assyrian Academia of Science? We can now go back to the Nineveh plains. The Greater Assyrian plan has succeeded. And with that, we can begin to plan our march into the Caucasus. We will start with invading Armenia, probably the strongest of the 3 Caucasus nations. And not only that, but to arrive to Yerevan we'll have to cross a bunch of mountains. This will cause a lot of problems. Luckily we have a solution, the mountaineers of Assyria. As our preparations slowly became done, something unexpected happened. The Caucasus Society, the crazy accelerationists in Georgia, declared war on Armenia. We have to hurry up and use this to our advantage. Let the Caucasus Liberation Campaign begin. We tried to sway the Armenian colony in Azerbaijan to join our side, but it failed. As the Armenians were already fighting the Caucasus Society, they didn't have enough divisions on our border to defend it. So we marched in and captured Van and later their capital of Yerevan completely uncontested. We even managed to encircle one of their divisions, but we didn't even bother to crush it. Instead, one of our Cossack divisions simply continued towards the Black Sea and managed to capture Trabzon. Once we had captured the city, the Armenians surrendered. The peace deal didn't go as planned and the Caucasus Society took most of the Caucasus. We did at least manage to take Lower Armenia and their former capital. We now only have to defeat the Caucasus Society to have liberated all of the Caucasus. But they are strong, stronger than us at least. We'll have to begin a massive mobilization program. So we began training 14 new divisions, 6 more than we have deployed, and we upgraded our mountaineer divisions. Hopefully this will be enough to secure a victory against the accelerationist menace. We declared war and immediately began advancing. They don't have enough divisions to cover the whole front, but we still have to be careful. We began with once again liberating Trabzon. We were fast enough so that the garrisons outside the city couldn't leave and we managed to encircle them. Their organization was so low we quickly disarmed the unit. One of our generals came up with a genius plan. If we capture the Caucasus capital in Tiflis, we will have basically cut their army in half. So we sent over our best Assyrian mountaineers and initiated an offensive. The Caucasus army weren't expecting an attack here, so they didn't have any reinforcements, and once we had captured the city we could continue towards the border with the Southeastern Union. We have successfully split their country in 2, so it's time to crush them. We have done it. All of the Caucasus is now freed and under our control. But to reunite with Russia, there are two more things to do. Capture northern Iran and help the Russian Empire to defeat the Southeastern Union. And they really need our help, because they are currently losing a war against the Intermarium. We will begin with Iran. They are still in their civil war, so we will attack both sides. And once we have liberated the territory we need, we will leave the war. We began marching into their country without an official declaration of war and managed to capture almost all of our territory needed without any conflicts. We only had to disarm one of the Shadum's divisions. The operation has gone really smoothly, so we could, if we want, continue our offensives. But we chose not to because it would ruin our already low trust in the Middle East. So we signed peace agreement with both sides in the civil war. It's now time to attack the Southeastern Union and rescue our motherland. So we declared war on them. Unfortunately, the Russians won't help us because they need to fight the Intermarium. We have only one railway line into their country and it's in Dagestan, so we will begin our offensive there. Our elite mountaineers pushed through their defenses and soon arrived in Temir Khan Shura. But they were a bit too fast, and once we arrived in Grozny, the Chechen capital, we didn't have any defenses on our flank. So the Southeastern Union army managed to encircle half of our mountaineer forces. If they succeed in killing our divisions, the war would turn around. To save it, we ordered a huge attack, and after a few days we managed to break them out. We have to hurry up and win this war. The Intermarium are 2 tiles away from Moscow. So we will begin a long march from Grozny to Ekaterinodar. Our enemy fought violently, especially in the south of Stavropol. But with an excellent maneuver from the Assyrian mountaineers, we marched around their defenses and captured the city. This is an important victory as we now have a supply hub to supply the rest of our march. We reorganized our divisions and set off once again. Our divisions quickly punched through, and after a short fight outside Ekaterinodar we successfully entered the city. We even managed to encircle 2 parts of their army. It is now utterly defeated and we can launch our final blow. We encircled and captured Novocherkassk, their biggest port city. And after that we continued towards Tsaritsyn, the biggest city in southern Russia. We successfully captured it and the Southeastern Union surrendered. We took most of their territory and transferred it to the Russian Empire. At long last, our struggle to reunite with Mother Russia is over. But our mission isn't complete yet. The Intermarium have captured Moscow. We need to save Russia now. The Russian motherland is saved and we have finally become their dominion. The coming years, the Empire slowly united Siberia under the Russian banner. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.